promise over your
Pastor
life.
hooping about backstabbers and liars.
Over your life. When the angel told the women, go tell my disciples and Peter that I'm going ahead of you to Galilee, it was a promise kept. Because the scripture said, if it pulls up on the screen, Mark chapter 16, verse 7, it says, and he has gone ahead of you to Galilee. There you will find him, just as he told you. Well, when did he tell you that? You got to go back to Mark chapter 14, around verse 28. He told the disciples, after I've been raised, I'm going to go before you and meet you in Galilee. So on resurrection morning, the only thing that happened was he kept a promise. That's why I act the way I act in church, because there's some promises over my life, and no panic can cancel a promise. Everything that makes me panic has to bow to the promises of God. If they fire you, you still got a promise. And my God shall supply all of my needs according to his riches and glory. Have you ever had people that didn't like you, who gathered people together to also not like you, and the people that they join with don't even know why they don't like you, but they just don't like you because the main person didn't like you? Well, it doesn't matter how many hellacious people come together to not like you and try to destroy you. There's a promise for that. When the enemy comes in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord will lift up a standard against you. Have you ever had somebody who you thought you could trust that was behind your back, trying to stab you in the back? Old school, smile in your face, whole time they trying to take your place. Backstabbers. You ain't got to worry about no backstabbers in your family, at your church, or your job, or your school. Why? Because there's a promise for that. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Money got funny, that's cool. Change got strange, that's cool. Your dollars wanted to holler, that's cool. Your quarters wouldn't get in order, that's cool. Dimes won't come on time, that's cool. Nickels acting fickle, that's cool. Your pennies ain't plenty, that's cool. There's a promise for that. I once was young and now I'm old, but I've never seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging for bread. You sick? The doctor see a spot? Well, let me give you a scripture. He was wounded for my transgressions. I'm waiting on y'all to wake up. I told you I'm already on 10. Y'all still on 2. He was wounded for my transgressions, bruised for my iniquities. Anybody can give God praise for 10 seconds because his promises still stick. When the panic and the pain shows up, thank him for his promise. Stand on his promise. If he said it, that settles it. Act like you're Kojic and Pentecostal and high-five somebody and use hand sanitizer later and say, there's a promise over your life. Go to work tomorrow and know there's a promise over your life. Go to school tomorrow and know there's a promise over your life. Well, what is it? No weapon formed against you shall be able to prosper. The Lord is my shepherd, and I shall not want. And even when death comes, there's a promise over my life. Let not your heart be troubled. If you believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions, and if it were not so, I would have told you. High-five yourself and say, stand on his promise. Open your mouth and say something, because you got a promise. Now unto him who is able to keep me from falling. That's a promise. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When the enemy comes in to eat up my flesh, they stumble and fall. Look at somebody and say, that's a promise. And a promise is only as good as the one that makes the promise. You need credibility and you need capacity. And I got a God who's credible, and he also has the capacity. Some people want to keep a promise, but they don't have capacity. And some people never want to keep a promise because they're not credible. But when it comes to Jesus, if he said, meet me in Galilee, when you move